Execution, Dock, Wapping, London. The 23rd of May, 1701. The Thames is grey and heavy under an overcast sky. A crowd has gathered along the river bank, hundreds pressing against the wooden rails, their breath sour with cheap ale in the afternoon heat. On the scaffold, a man in his late 40s stands with his hands bound. His name is William Kidd, Captain William Kidd. He wears a dark coat, not the fine coats he once favored, but a plain wool thing that reeks of the Newgate prison he has spent the last 2 years in. The hangman loops the rope around his neck. The trapdoor opens. Kidd drops, and the rope snaps. The crowd gasps. Kidd crashes to the mud below the scaffold, alive, dazed, the noose still loose around his throat. They haul him back up. A second rope. This time it does not break. When it is over, his body is tarred, wrapped in chains, and suspended in an iron gibbet at Tilbury Point, where the Thames meets the sea. There it will hang for 3 years, visible to every ship that passes, a warning to any sailor who might consider turning pirate. But the warning failed, because the moment Kidd died, another thing was born, a story, a whisper that spread through the docks and taverns of London and across the Atlantic to the colonies. The treasure Kidd buried was not all recovered, not all of it. Some of it was still out there, hidden, waiting, and for more than 300 years, despite every expedition, every dig, every map that promised to reveal the truth, that claim has never been disproved. This is the story of Captain Kidd's buried treasure, and the legend that grew from it into something far larger than the man himself. William Kidd was born in Scotland around 1655, most likely in Dundee, though some accounts dispute this. What matters is that he went to sea young, and he was good at it. By the 1690s, Kidd was a respected merchant captain, operating out of New York. He had married a wealthy widow. He owned property. He was not a pirate. He was a man on his way up. Then the British government came calling. In 1695, King William III's government commissioned Kidd to sail to the Indian Ocean, hunt down pirates who were preying on British shipping, and bring the stolen goods back to the crown. His backers included some of the most powerful men in England, Whig lords who expected a handsome return on their investment. Kidd was given a ship, the Adventure Galley, around 287 tons, 34 cannons, a hybrid design that used both sails and oars, so she could chase prey even when the wind died. Kidd set sail from the Thames in April of 1696, and from New York that September, bound for the Indian Ocean. The mission was supposed to last a year. It became a catastrophe before he even reached open water. The problem started on the Thames itself. Passing a Royal Navy vessel, Kidd's crew failed to offer a proper salute. The naval commander stopped the Adventure Galley and pressed a portion of Kidd's crew into forced service. Kidd diverted to New York to find replacements. He recruited men with nothing to lose and no loyalty to anyone but themselves. Then disease broke out. Dozens of his men died before they reached Madagascar. Kidd replaced them, and the new crew was worse. For over a year, the Adventure Galley sailed the Indian Ocean, hunting for pirates and French vessels. They found almost nothing. The crew grew hungry, then angry. They had signed on expecting loot, not empty holds and empty stomachs. On the 30th of October, 1697, a gunner named William Moore complained loudly about Kidd's refusal to attack a Dutch ship, which would have been illegal under his commission. Moore called his captain a coward. Kidd picked up an iron-bound wooden bucket and struck Moore in the head. Moore's skull fractured. He died the next day. Kidd now had the blood of his own crewmen on his hands. Then, on the 30th of January, 1698, everything changed. Off the coast of India, near Cochin, Kidd spotted a merchant vessel, around 400 tons, Armenian-owned, captained by an Englishman, but sailing under French passes. That made her a potentially legal target under his commission. Kidd raised French colors as a ruse and closed in. The ship surrendered peacefully. Her name was the Quedagh Merchant. Her cargo was extraordinary: silks, satins, muslins, opium, sugar, gold. The haul was estimated at the time at around 70,000 pounds, which many historians today consider equivalent to several $1 million. The exact value is uncertain, and little of the cargo survived intact. Kidd had finally found his fortune, but the crew had tasted blood. They wanted more. Word of the capture raced back to England ahead of him, and the story that arrived was not the story of a lawful privateer seizing a French pass vessel. It was the story of a pirate who had crossed the line. Kidd knew he was in trouble before he ever saw land. He sailed for the Caribbean, sold off much of the Quedagh merchant's cargo, then pointed his bow toward New York. He still believed his powerful backers would protect him. As insurance, he stopped at Gardiner's Island, off the eastern tip of Long Island, in June of 1699. Jonathan Gardiner, the island's owner, gave Kidd permission to leave several items ashore. The inventory, later documented by authorities, listed over 1,000 ounces of gold, more than 2,000 ounces of silver, precious stones, and various goods. Kidd then sailed on to Boston, where he was promptly arrested by order of the Earl of Bellomont. The treasure on Gardiner's Island was retrieved, inventoried, and shipped to England. It was used as evidence against him at the Old Bailey. Kidd was tried on the 8th and 9th of May, 1701. 2 charges: murder of William Moore and piracy. Kidd maintained his innocence on both counts. He argued that the Quedagh merchant had sailed under French passes, making her a legal prize. Those passes, he claimed, had been suppressed by the prosecution. They were never presented at his trial. Historians now largely agree that Kidd's trial was a travesty. His powerful backers abandoned him. They had political reasons to see him silenced. The verdict came fast: guilty on all counts. On the 23rd of May, 1701, William Kidd was hanged at Execution Dock in Wapping. The first rope broke. He had to be hanged twice. His body was gibbeted at Tilbury Point, where it hung in chains for 3 years. The hanging should have been the end. It was the beginning. The fact that Kidd had genuinely buried treasure on Gardiner's Island was undisputed. The Crown had recovered it. They had counted it. They had used it against him in court. But the human mind does not accept that a pirate only buried treasure once. If Kidd buried treasure on Gardiner's Island, the logic went, then he must have buried more somewhere else, perhaps many places. The legend spread quickly. In Connecticut, near Milford, people claimed Kidd buried treasure on Charles Island, a narrow strip of land accessible only at low tide. In New Jersey, treasure hunters searched the dunes and marshes near the shore. In the Hudson River Valley, families passed down maps and stories that placed Kidd's gold on the riverbanks and in the forests. Then came the biggest claim of all, Oak Island, Nova Scotia, the famous Money Pit. The original legend, first recorded in print in 1863, involves a dying sailor from Kidd's crew who claimed that treasure had been buried on the island. For more than 2 centuries, excavators have believed something was down there. The Lagina brothers, whose search is documented on the History Channel, are still digging. They have spent millions. They have found old tools, coconut fiber, and fragmentary evidence of human activity. They have not found Captain Kidd's treasure. No one has. And yet, every decade, a new expedition launches. A new map surfaces. A new theory takes hold. Kidd's legend inspired Robert Louis Stevenson to draw on his story while writing Treasure Island. It inspired Edgar Allan Poe to make Kidd the buried treasure pirate at the heart of the gold bug. It gave the world the very image of a pirate burying gold on a remote island with a marked map. Kidd did not invent that idea on purpose, but his death, and the one confirmed burial on Gardiner's Island, created it. History hides what it cannot protect. The British Crown could not protect the truth of Kidd's trial, so the French passes disappeared, and Kidd was silenced forever. Kidd could not protect his treasure, so he gave it to a farmer on a small island off Long Island, and trusted a group of politicians who had already decided to betray him. The Gardiner's island hoard was dug up, counted, and absorbed into the machinery of empire. But the legend says that was never all of it. That the real fortune Kidd accumulated across years in the Indian Ocean was divided and hidden across multiple sites from New England to Nova Scotia. Is that true? The honest answer is that it has never been disproved. Every excavation on Oak Island finds just enough to keep the dig going. Every map that surfaces offers just enough detail to convince someone to spend their savings on another expedition. The difference between a lost legend and a found fortune is always one person. One person who paid the right kind of attention at the right moment. Kidd's treasure may not exist, or it may be sitting under the sand on a beach in New Jersey, or under the mud of the Hudson, or beneath a deep shaft on Oak Island. No one can say for certain it is not, and that is the thing about treasure. The only thing more powerful than finding it is never finding it at all. So here is the question. Do you believe Captain Kidd buried more treasure than the crown recovered, or did the legend simply outgrow the man? Subscribe to Lost Fathoms. Real stories, real history, real treasure. Captain Kidd died on a rope in 1701, but his treasure, real or imagined, has been alive for more than 300 years. See you in the next one.